Yo, what's going on, family? Hey, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. The over 2,000 subscribers who subscribe. I appreciate y'all tuning in this Friday. And this Friday is going to be an interesting discussion. Of course, we're going to talk about the fire movement. If you saw the thumbnail early on, about a week ago when I first put it out, we talking about the fire movement. Is it overrated or underrated? That's part of the discussion. But we're going to dive into a bigger topic that I saw, and is, got a little hip hop, a little financial nexus involved. I don't know about y'all, but since I can remember in the 90s, I've been seeing this pattern of rapper blows up, does well, becomes a multi-millionaire, may have a label, and you know what happens? They end up passing away. Most times they end up passing away in their own hood. Or in the alternative, they go to Suge Knight route. They end up incarcerated, locked away for years, like Shine, like Suge Knight. I mean, I can just like T. Ali. I could name 50. I could probably name 50 hip hop artists who have either passed away or who have ended up locked up. So the question that we're going to talk about first is going to be an interesting one, because the name of the game when you're talking finances, we already know the name of the game is securing the bag. Now, securing the bag is one part of it. Once you secure the bag, you got the bag, you got the money, you reach your financial goals. The next step is you got to stash it and play defense, because everybody going to want a piece of it. Friends, families, scammers, the whole nine. So we're going to talk about what's the proper way to move once you secured the bag. Can you still do the same stuff you used to? If so, how? How to keep people at arm's length? How to keep it a buck and keep it real, so to speak, but not alienate people who you may know? There's a lot of unique answers to that. Is no real right or wrong. It's kind of a gray area. We're going to talk about all that and discuss it. And of course, as always, well, not always, but as with most Fridays, hey, I got a guest on. And I like this brother because this is a brother who I consider my social media YouTube family. We met on social media first. Then I had a chance to meet him in person on two occasions when I was at a FanCon event. We at there talking finances and wealth and just chopping it up. And I was like, you know what? Hey, Jonathan, we got to do a video together. His name is Jonathan Thomas. The brother has an MBA. The brother's a financial coach. He's investing in the market. He's investing in the real estate. So I was like, you know what? This is the perfect person to have on the show so we can get some gems and talk about this topic, because this is a topic that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the last time I seen or ever heard of a country music singer who acquired wealth, who got shot in Nashville, Tennessee. That shit don't happen. It only impacts our artists, our entertainers, people from neighborhoods that may be reflective of where people who look like you and me come from. So we're going to chop it up. Hey, y'all show some love to my guy, Jonathan Thomas, about to jump him in right now. That was real gangster, about to jump him in right now.
Yeah. That'll take you back.
Right. What's going on, brother? Hey, first and foremost, man, I appreciate you jumping on and doing this with me, man. I'm really honored and blessed to have you here, man. And the next time we link up, if it's New Orleans and you and the missus down there, we definitely got to sit down and have a drink outside of the structured form, man.
But yeah, you missed the invite. We were at Top Golf, and I'm looking at your story. I'm like, this boy is over here at a rooftop. I'm like, why ain't at the rooftop? Y'all got me over here. I'm like, well, let's go there. You know what I mean? I'm listening to the music. I'm like, what's up with that? Yeah,
we found a whole little spot about a 17-minute drive away. And it was nothing but restaurants, bars, clubs, live music as far as the eye can see. And I was like, once I started having a drink, and I ain't gonna lie, I kind of prejudged the band because I heard like some country music, and I was like, I'm gonna have this one drink and get the hell out of here. Right. But then after that, they started playing some cool ass music. I was like, this band, I don't know if it was the band or the drinks or both, but the shit started getting interesting.
Well, don't trust me. Once you're in a good vibe, it don't take much to really get you there. You just need a little bit of talent just to get you there. You don't need them to go above my arm. But no, I appreciate you allowing me to come on your platform. I love the growth that I'm seeing from you. And you're right. We met at FinCon, and it was just it's always great connecting with like-minded people and all that. But I mean, like you said, it's just like catching up with an old friend when you link up. So love what you're doing here. Appreciate you allowing me to come join your conversation. And let's see if we can give folks some value tonight.
Definitely. Now, hey, tell the folks a little bit about yourself, your background, and everything. I gave you an introduction, but I know it's not going to do as much justice. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, man.
No, like you said, my name is Jonathan. I help people build wealth. And to your point, I invest in the stock market, invest in real estate. But I started off pretty much like I would think anybody else. I was broke. I don't even think I was living paycheck to paycheck because I just didn't have no money even to get to that next paycheck. So
Right.
I was just flat broke. Had a 500 credit score. And the girl I was dating at the time, when I was looking for a job out of college, she introduced me to going into and helped me actually go into banking and financial services. And two things happened when I got there. At a 500 score, in fact, my boss was trying to get me to open up a checking account at Bank of America. I was like, I don't know, because I had just paid off in the collections, but I wasn't trying to bring up that negativity. And she was like, "Oh, you had an old account." So I'm like, yeah, but it's paid off though. So she let me go ahead and get the account back and get in good graces. But two things I was purposeful when I got there. Number one, I knew I was broke and I realized I was broke and I needed to do something different. So I'm like, well, I'm working at a bank. There can't be a better place to learn about money than the bank. So I circled every aspect of the bank, small business, mortgage, investments, leadership, everything to learn how to deal with money. And then the second thing is, how am I going to grow my career? And that was leadership, learning how to help a young person, not even a young person, a 62-year-old woman on a budget of $2,000 a month, save $12,000 a year, really showed me that, hey, we all have an opportunity with our money that can get us in a better situation. And from that, I learned that once I learned how to do it, I was really good at teaching other people how to do it. And so I became a leader, still a leader, rose, and I spent my time just helping others help members, everybody that come across. So we can, if you were in that overdraft cycle, we get you out, try to get your credit built, get you on your way to investing and buying your first home. And from that, going from Bank of America to Wells Fargo, and about 2016, I landed in a credit union. That's where I came up with the really personal aspect and the coaching and the really how you can love on somebody with this information to serve people financially. And that's where the whole Facebook group born out of just an idea. It's got about 1,600 members in there now. And then from that, asking people questions, getting into their intimate conversation, they're still doing it. We love the group, love the participation. But that's when I got introduced to, oh man, people are on the internet talking about money. I want to do that. I want to try to help people. So that's where in COVID, that's where the YouTube channel was born. That's where Instagram was born, because I was more Facebook heavy. And from then went to the first FinCon, and it's been just go, try to help as much people as I can, try to get better with the message to help connect as much people as I can. And then realize that I want to help you build wealth. It does sound great, but I say that because my number is not your number. Your number is not somebody else's number. So what we all need, and if you read a lot of these stories of success, they're all different numbers. So what we're trying to do, and what I'm trying to do, is help you get to your number, be satisfied with that, and live the life you want to live.
Right. Hey, that's great to have that experience, especially with the financial institutions. It's funny, you started and you just paid off for collections, and now look at you. So hey, to be able
to, you know what I mean? I'm like, dang, I was hoping that wouldn't stop me from getting hired, but she was like, but that's weird, man. When your boss said, "Oh, you had an account," I was like, yeah, but I paid it off though. It just worked if I didn't pay it off.
All right, trust me, I've been down that road before where I went through a couple of interviews and I was like, man, I'm gonna get this job. And they looked at my credit score, was like, nah, brother.
Nah, we ain't gonna deal with you.
I'm like, oh, so it's dope that you actually made that kind of 360 to put you and your family in a better situation. But more dope than that, also giving those gems to other people. It's one of those things where we did me and my guy Mar did a live once when we were talking about the top hip hop entrepreneurs. And hey, Diddy just became a hip hop billionaire, but I could never put him in that top 1 or 2 category, because for me, there's value in how many people do you bring with you on your journey. I can look at Dr. Dre, and he got 50 Cent under his tree. He got Eminem under his tree. Jay-Z got Rihanna under his tree. Under Diddy tree is him.
Yeah.
Because so it's definitely respect to you for that aspect of not only getting your stuff together, but also going out and passing the word on, because we especially need it. All communities need it, but especially in communities where it's Black and brown people, minorities. So that's big props.
And it's a big thing. Just one quick note on that.
Go ahead.
Is you got to understand, whoever watches whatever video you watch, you don't have to have a rental property to have money. You don't have to have all these complicated investments to have money. You can have money just by investing in your 401k, saving, budgeting, doing basic things, because that's where we headed. If you got $20,000 in your savings account, you're doing well above probably 70, I think it's about 75% of the US. So you have a bit of money, meaning if something happens, you can withstand the financial impact. So being able to start what you are, and that's the one thing I love about money is, like, it is a fair thing. If you're willing to work and go earn a dollar, you know what I mean, you can choose what you do with that dollar. And some people choose to save and invest, and some people choose to spend.
Right. And just real quick, shout out to everybody in the chat. Aaron, Britt, I see everybody in the chat. And yes, in the US, employers could use credit as a means to exclude somebody. There is a change that's taking place in January 2023 where employers can no longer, air quotes, because I don't know how they're going to check and find out if they're not, but there is a new statute in place that barring employers from using a person's credit as a sole reason to exclude them. I'm sure they may dig in there and find something else, but for years,
they don't know.
they may find something else, but for years it was definitely just that was something that was possible. So we're going to get into the fire stuff, whether it's overrated or underrated. But anybody who watched my channel, I always kind of like to talk about current events. And when I woke up and saw, like, oh man, a rapper got shot, that's interesting. My partner said it best. He was like, he got shot during a dice game, and he said, my first thought was, how did somebody get a gun in a casino in Vegas? Until I looked at the facts, it was he got shooting dice in a bowling alley, somewhere where I don't know, looking a little sketch to me. I put it this way: when I travel to Texas, and I was just in Texas, we were all just in Texas. I checked my pistol at the airport because I don't trust Texas. So it's already a heightened level of scrutiny for me when you go to Texas, where just everybody got guns as a matter of course. But that's neither here nor there. But I wanted to talk with you about, we've seen this pattern before. I mean, we could go back to the Biggies, the Tupacs, the P&B Rock, all these guys who acquire a certain level of wealth, a certain level of fame, and they end up getting clipped down in the hood, in the neighborhood. A lot of them get clipped down in their own neighborhood where they are from. So I wanted to kind of touch bases and get your opinion on, okay, when you come from humble beginnings and start to acquire assets, is there a proper way that you should move? And some people take the Jay-Z approach. Jay-Z probably ain't been to Marcy Projects himself in 40 years. So some people who take that approach, but we also see people and artists and people with money who take the opposite approach. You know what I mean? Somebody like a Nipsey Hussle, who his store was in his neighborhood, but that was where he got. So let's talk a little bit about how you should move once you acquire the finances, in your opinion. Give me your take on that.
Well, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned the Amigos, but I just saw Kevin Hart actually did an interview early on, but everybody knows he's really big into understanding how the structure is well. But he's big like that because he got hit hard, like most people who, when they're on their rise to fame, what's usually the thing that hits them the first time? If you watch YouTube, if you watch TikTok, everybody has the consistent thing. Even if they ain't got no debt, they all get hit with taxes. And so taxes became the first thing that you have to start learning to be aware of and do correctly. Don't just do because your friend said, "Oh, that's a tax write-off." No, it's not. Your friend's not qualified to give you that type of advice, and if they don't have the money, you definitely shouldn't be listening to it. But we have to understand that if you make $10,000, or I'm sorry, average person makes about $40,000, 60,000 at a household. Well, once you're making $100,000, once you're making $80,000, there's more things you have to be worried about. As you move your wealth up, more things become. You don't have to necessarily change what you do, but you do have to change how you look at it. So I know we were talking backstage about, hey, not having a will, Hardwick, not Hardwick, but Black Panther.
Bozeman. Yeah,
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 Bozeman.
Bozeman.
But Chadwick Boseman, everybody think you have a highest grossing movie. Hey, you got money. Well, his net worth was only about 1.2 million. But his wife, he didn't have a estate plan set up, even for the 1.2 million. His wife had to go to court and actually argue that. So when you start to build wealth, before you even building wealth, just everybody needs a will. But once you start to cross over, okay, I got 50, $100,000 in net worth, whether it's equity in your real estate or in stocks, I personally think you really need to start thinking about, okay, I need to get a little bit more in depth with this will. I need to start learning about trust. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's not sexy. You got irrevocable, you got revocable, you got estate plan, all that type of stuff. But those are the things that we learn through work how to get money. But those unsexy things is how you keep money.
Right,
You may
right,
have 50, $100,000, $1,000,000. I don't care. But even if you have $1,000,000 and you go crash your car, are you willing, if you didn't have to, are you willing to pay the 20,000? You can. Are you willing to pay the 20, 30,000 to replace it? Or would you rather get the check from the insurance? You know what I mean? You just worked 20 years, 30 years, and I mean, you up all night, you grinding, you unmasked $5 million worth of net worth. You got properties, you got kids, you got a wife, you know what I'm saying, you set your family up, you die. Are you gonna be happy that your wife, your kids now are gonna suffer? And that 5 million is probably gonna get cut down to about 2.5 going through probate once they get through arguing back and forth from your work.
right,
We have to understand that with money comes risk. With money comes responsibility. The risk is, yeah, what I did when I was broke, getting wasted, you know what I mean, being out there, unlicensed guns, drugs, all those different things that you might get involved with in the street activities. You could do that when you broke because you ain't really got nothing to lose. But when you got $1 million, when you got a certain brand out here, if I get in an accident and I'm worth 2-3 million, you think the person's neck isn't gonna all of a sudden start hurting from a little fender
oh,
bender?
facts. I
You know what I
trust me.
mean? You become more of a target.
Yo,
So to your point, going back to the hood, and I'm almost done. I'm sorry
no, you good, you
to run
good.
you over, but to your point, I was just telling my young friend today. I'm like, dude, I can't fight people in the hood. We're not. It's not a fair fight. They don't have the same guns. They don't have the same stakes that I have.
Right,
If I'm worth a couple million and you not, you fighting for your life. I don't want to fight you. It's not that important for me because
right,
you can take mine all because I choose to participate.
right,
And how we help our family, how we help where we come from, you have to be very, very tactical, but you can't just go back and act like you're the same person because you're not.
right. And I tell you, it also is one thing to establish wealth, but it's another thing to establish fame.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's if you're the wealthy guy who drives a Toyota Corolla and wears Skechers, nobody gonna know that you worth XYZ.
Right.
But if you're the YouTuber who tracking your $1 million journey,
Right.
it's gonna be some people out there who know. It may be a bunch of hands out there. Once you start to acquire a certain level of fame, you have to evaluate your risk. And
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be a buck. You don't know when you grow up in those environments, you don't know who develops into what. I got
Right.
two stories, and I don't know if I ever told this story before, but I moved out of my house when I was 17, right? And then moving out at 17, I was gone 2 years of college, 4 or 5 years in the military, a couple years in another place, 3 years in law school, 3 years of practice. So I would occasionally come home, but I was a grown ass man for family. I
Right.
wasn't running home every summer. This ain't college, you know what I mean? And I never forget when I came home, I saw a partner of mine. He was a couple years younger than me. And I was like, oh man, you don't know and identify your risk because you don't know who people are going to grow into.
Exactly.
I remember him as, oh, this is my partner. We used to play ball together. And I remember having a conversation with my brother, like, oh man, I just saw X, Y, and Z. Yeah, we're going to link up and go go hang out.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until my brother told me that this person who was a quiet basketball player evolved into something that me hanging out with them would put me in a much riskier situation. So you know what I had to do? It was like, oh man, I had to throw it on my wife. I can't get out, man. My wife, she's tripping.
Right.
And I ain't gonna lie, when I look on social media, I'd be like, damn, that look fun.
Yeah.
I said, well, they hanging out with look fun, but I have to identify that, like you said, you are the perfect person who I would love to hang out with and have a drink with you and your wife. You know why? Because y'all got shit to lose, just like mine.
Yeah, you gotta have skin in the game, man.
You gotta be your peer group.
Yeah,
you gotta be your peer group, man.
It's not that you can't have fun with those people, but you can't have fun in the same ways. That's all it is. And then, like you said, you have a responsibility when you have wealth, when you start to earn a little bit more money. You start, and even not even just earn a little bit more money, you have a little bit more money. Number one, you start to be a little bit more confident that, hey, I don't have to do all these different things to enjoy myself. But then number two, you really start to be like, dang, it really took some work to save and invest to get to that first million. If I die, when I die, what's gonna happen to that? That's gonna suck. I don't want my wife and kids going through, and all the people who depend on me going through a whole bunch of hoops to access the money that I worked hard to save. I didn't buy certain things so that I could invest. I, for gold, a lot of things, just so we can have this ability to have resources. All for, look, I don't mind giving the government their tax cut, but you don't get more, all because I didn't want to fill out and set up just a plan of, hey, after I die, it goes to my wife. If she's gone, it goes to my kids. If she's gone, it goes through these steps, you know what I mean, before it diminishes. Because otherwise, even if you die, that whole probate thing, I can have, and you talk about branding, Chadwick Boseman, he could have had some third cousin out of nowhere just go up in the state and name himself as executive, and she wouldn't even got the 1.2 million. You know what I mean? Because just because they know somebody. So these are things, what you're doing is you're starting to protect. You're right. Your first thing in your level, you're like, hey, I got health insurance, I got my car, full coverage, a liability, I got those things, but hey, I got a little bit of wealth now. Now you start to build up and you're like, oh, there's a point in your level of wealth. And this is where a good accountant, this is where a financial advisor comes in, because they start to tell you, hey, you have enough built up that it makes more sense for you to have an umbrella policy. An umbrella policy will now kind of bring all the things you own, take all the liability out, but you're now a little bit safer with your wealth. And then when you get to 10 million, 20 million, or not even that far, but as you're growing your wealth, they start to advise you, be like, hey, I know it's great to say you got ownership, but in the game of money, you really move things out of your name. Why? Because if you are in the streets and somebody be like, oh, I know Jonathan got it. Yeah, you can hit me and I can hit you back. But now we on the same playing field, because all that stuff you talking about, that ain't in my name. That's, that's somewhere else. For good reason. You don't want somebody to be able to take advantage of you just because, oh, I know he ain't gonna snap back just because he's doing a little bit better. No, it's not that simple. But we do have to learn these things because these are the things that will help protect our father and mother because they didn't. And if you plan to have any type of money, you need bare minimum will trust. You bare minimum will trust. If you want to take it a step further, will trust life insurance. To me, depending on how much money you got, the life insurance is an extra bill. But if that makes you feel better, cool. But bare minimum will trust. You have to have those things because that's the security of the bag. Working gets you to the bag. Security is the insurance.
Let me ask you about that. So if you had let's say you had a $7 million net worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 1.5 of that is straight liquid cash. You could go in and pull out. Everything else is in assets and investment.
Yeah.
Would you be like, nah, I'm self-insured, or would you actually have a policy? Because my position is this is kind of my position. When I pass away, properties and life insurance policies, that's what you kids are going to get. How much money and stuff do I need, y'all? The rest of the hard work, me and your mother going to enjoy this shit.
You've been listening to Shaq. Your mother and I are rich. You know what I mean? Like,
even if I had a $10 million, net worth with $3 million liquid, I'm still going to have an insurance policy. And I know a lot of policies, I know my policy have this, and you can check to see if your policy has this, but it has a period where you can renew the policy before termination. And as long as you do it before termination, you can renew it without any health, no physical or nothing like that. So I look at that insurance as, you know what, that's when my term policy lapse, I'm going to renew it and probably increase it because I know that'll probably be my last policy before I leave God's green earth a long time from now, Lord willing. But, that insurance policy to me is really, and I'm not going to blow the whole thing, but me and my wife going to have a really nice life. So if you self-insured status, would you keep a policy, or you would just be like, I don't know, it's not worth it?
Truth be told, I look at it a couple different ways because the money, personally speaking, no, I'm not a big fan of life insurance because I'm like, you could really, for me, I can invest that in the index funds like I invest right now, and I can make more than the policy. But truth be told, we do need to clarify that life insurance is to help provide financial resources to replace an income that these people that you're responsible for need. So my wife, if I'm bringing an income and we have certain bills in the home, she needs a certain amount of income. If I have $7 million net worth, 1.2 million in cash, when I die, she's not gonna need my income. My daughter, you know what I mean, if I died and she's 5, 5, 6 years old, yeah, you're gonna need income. But if I'm worth $7 million, she's not gonna need the income. And to be truthful, if you're 50 years old and you're $7-8 million net worth, and you got 25 and 30-year-olds, they should not be dependent on your income. They are now grown. At that point, your wealth is to elevate what they're doing and what they want to do in their life rather than take care of them in life. And then they use your wealth after they've been elevated and after they've been able to do some good and prosper, and they take your wealth to another level because they can spend all that money, but if they do it right, it will be as if they never spent the money and they actually 2-3x'd it. Then they pass it down to their kids who can be elevated, you know what I mean, and have that effect. But that's the biggest part that we're starting to see come up now is, hey, I didn't work hard, I didn't earn this money. You're right. Parents, baby boomers, they live their best life. But when they give that money to their kids, everybody have a little bit too much fun. And for me, it's not to be conservative. Like I want the kids to be able to do everything that I've been able to experience earlier. That's the point of wealth. Give more options, give more opportunity. But I don't want selfishness in my line of legacy. Meaning, dude, I did this so that you can do well. And guess what? Your kids can do that much better. So don't be selfish. You know what I mean? And if I do think there is selfish, I'm not a control freak, but I am a leadership freak in the fact that I'm gonna write mine to a stint that I'm like, I'm
I'm
going
gonna
to
control this from the
ensure.
grave.
Yeah, I'm gonna ensure that everybody from me forward is able to benefit, and not just me, but the nonprofits and other organizations that we want to impact are going to benefit for years to come until we might not have a solution, but we can help be a part of the solution for them. So that's why I'm saying the kids don't be self. I think you spending all your parents' money in one generation. Granted, that's lack of it's lack of responsibility on the parents. They didn't prepare you for that.
Right.
But it's also on the kid that, hey, that's irresponsible. I just took away somebody else's opportunity to live great. And now we
Yeah.
got to start right back over.
You're right. You're right. I think is I'll tell you, I was before the pandemic. I joined this group where it's like a millionaire, future millionaires group, and I insurance is the supplement income, but I
Right.
would probably say 85 to 90% of the people I talked to who worth multi-million dollars, they was like, nah, we keep a policy because, like you said, it's not to replace wealth at this point, is to keep putting the next person in a position to win, because we know the statistic, 70% of the value that you create is going to be gone in second generation. And by the time you get to the third generation, 90%. So it is
and that honestly, that might be my test case. You know what I mean? Now that you're thinking about it, I'm like, I never thought about it, but I'm like, you know what? I could buy me an insurance policy and I can keep my wealth behind. And I'm like, you know what? Here's the insurance policy. And I can stop it at a certain point and be like, look, you screw this up. Okay, cool. You ain't ready for this. You know what I mean?
That's kind of my game plan. Like the beneficiary of the insurance policy is the trust. Yeah. That money goes into the trust. The trust is going to pay y'all whatever, $30,000 a year indefinitely. If you can't get on with $30,000 a year, off the break, a $30,000 a year head start, I ain't gonna be here, but you deserve whatever badness happens to you financially if you fuck that up, kids. I love y'all. If y'all ever watch this video, but if y'all mess that up, that's on y'all. And I just wanted to talk about this comment here. I don't think building wealth isn't boring. It's a different type of fun. Now, I don't know about y'all. I can only speak for myself. But every now and then, if I see my partners from around the way having a good time on social media or something, there's a little part of me who'd be like, damn, that shit look fun. I would love to be out there doing that. But again, my thing is I know the risk. So I have real fun with real friends who are like-minded. Like it was dope a couple years ago before the pandemic for me and other friends I have who are married, who are on their finance game, for us to go to Turks and Caicos. Like that's what fun is. Fun isn't for me. I'm out having a good time, but I always got to look over my shoulder because I don't know what problems they may have.
Right.
They're going to
be brought, but they think I can solve.
But no, it's this real talk. Hey, rest in peace to my brother, but I didn't hang out that much with my brother, and I told him the reason. The reason is, dog, I love you, but if you got ops out here, I'm not going to put myself and my family in position. If I got to end up popping somebody, I want it to be for something that generates naturally, not because I got I got a little bit of your op dust on me, and now that's something that nobody doing that. So building wealth isn't boring, but when you reach that level of maturity as a person, and the same way you have an emergency fund for money, you got to have a what I like to call an emotional and mental emergency fund as well. How much emotional capital do I want to use to have a good time, but put myself in a situation that could pose me risk? I don't want to use a lot of emotional capital or real capital to avoid something that I can avoid. You know what I mean?
So there's that piece, and excellent answer. But the other thing I would say is I do think wealth does get a bad rap. So for me, it is fun to be able, like last year, I took gave my wife a birthday party, right? And typically I do a lot of giving spur of the moment type thing. So her friends all came out. They had a nice dinner. It was a nice restaurant. And at the end, I randomly decided, all right, I'm gonna just pay for everybody dinner. You know what I mean? It didn't matter to do that, and I don't bat an eye about it. You know what I mean? Do you bat an eye about when bills come up? It's not even a thing of, hey, I just spent $3,000-4,000. Oh, how I'm gonna get this back? In subconsciously, I know I got it and I can take the hit. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent it. But there's a comfort in knowing that I can do things that I choose not to do. Like I really, wealth for me developed the power into me that I could buy out my job. I could buy out, you know what I mean? I could buy out my mom's job. I could buy out, you know what I mean? If I have a problem, it will take, to be honest, the type of problems that it will take now to wipe me out have to be health. Those are the most expensive things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Health or some sort of lawsuit type thing, like major lawsuit, not, you know what I mean, little thing, but cancers, you know what I mean? Something where you got to expend a lot of resources to do you know, say a lot of testing and stuff. Those are the type of things that you be like, okay, we're gonna draw down a lot. But oh man, we gotta get another car. Okay, that sucks. You gotta go get another car, you gotta look. But I can go do it, you know, and move on, and it doesn't affect my life. You lose a job. Oh, yeah, that sucks. You know what I mean? I had plans and goals I was trying to reach, you know what I mean? But I can go a long time, years without getting another job just where I'm at right now. So, and that has to do not just with planning, that has to do with drawing your bills down, you know what I mean, while you're planning. Not, you know what I'm saying? My lifestyle is very, very cheap as far as cost effective. We just bought a house. We're living in the house. You see, we got one of them. I didn't fell into the trap and of home ownership. I got one of them accent wall things. But looking at all the things, looking at all the things that go into getting a house and getting it prepared, and looking how fast it goes, and I'm not even concerned. One, we didn't use credit, we didn't borrow anything, we gave the money, you know what I'm saying, for the mortgage, yeah. But other than that, pay cash for all that other stuff, move in and out, you know what I mean. The house is probably 98% together now, but we never borrowed for anything. You know what I mean? So we just pay it and keep it going. So wealth is fun, but I was saying the responsibility, that piece, like for me, if we're talking investments, oh man, that's, hey, blow it, like, you know what I mean? Hey, let's go. You know what I mean? But when you're talking about,
my man pulled out a prop.
You know, right? Well, no, that's real. But when you're talking about wills and trust, that part, and death, and your mortality, that part is, you might hit the snooze, and that's the part that actually keeps your wealth in place. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you working to get the money and invest is no more important than you preserving the money for generations. They they have equal importance.
Right. One is offensive and one is defensive.
The other is defense.
Yeah, one is defensive. I just wanted to talk on this, and it was a good question. With a way of preventing that windfall goofiness. Hey, I like that. I need to coin that. Be given as they grow, so they start learning that appreciation. So, you know, and this goes back to the scenario where I said I had a life insurance policy. I make my trust the beneficiary. Something happens to me, that nice round number, $1 million goes in the trust. That $1 million is invested. Let's assume it's making 10% a year. $100,000 a year is being made. I got 2 kids. I want to give each of them $30,000 every January 1st from the time I'm gone to the time they pass away. That $1 million is still growing $40,000 a year. When you talk about giving to a child through any type of estate plan, and again, estate planning isn't my expertise, but I have had some training in the area. I think that's a smart way to do it. You could reduce your risk if you say, hey, if I pass away and they're under the age of 25, they get this amount. Once they reach this age, they get this amount. I'm really not too big on that, because I don't know. And I'm more of a realist. And I always say this, and I say this a lot on videos. There's always that unknown of, we don't know what our child going to do. We give them the lesson. we give them the lessons, we give them the jewels, but like I said, I've seen and lived in a household where one person passed away from street violence, the other one is in the justice system. I've seen a WNBA player outside of my job in DC who is homeless, who has a college degree. So there's always that unknown. That is a smart way to do it, where because naturally you think as they get older, they mature mentally. So it's a higher likelihood that they're going to make smarter decisions. I think that's a smart way to do it, but you always got to understand we do kind of got that infamous unknown factor where people are going to make their own decisions, and that's just one of those things. But I think that's a good way if we stick along the premise of people mature as they get older, so they're probably going to be a little bit more rational and a little bit more logical.
Well, and like I suggested, people, like when you think about your legacy, when you think about passing out money, number one, they don't have to get all the money, like you said, all at one time. Number two, you're right. Kids, you're rolling the dice. But the thing I like about them is the habits, the time you get to spend with them. You get to actually mold and really see, can I trust this person with this responsibility? Like there, you know what I mean? Like my wife is one of 4 kids. I'm one of 3. Like there's always probably one. You're probably gonna have one who, if you have multiple kids, you're probably gonna have one who don't even want to deal with the money. They would appreciate, hey, I have the ability for us to pay your rent or make sure you stay in a decent house, but they don't want the, you know what I'm saying, high level of money.
Yo,
but you have to understand. I saw your question. We'll get her, but
I was just about to say, damn, like, was I zoned out? Did I miss that $4,000? Did you eat with the 12 disciples?
No.
$4,000, God.
No, but the thing about when you're passing out money, there's a couple different ways. Again, with a trust, with sitting down with an estate planner, you can set it up because number one, even if you can't, what if you have a situation where you can't trust none of your kids with the money? You can trust the estate planner because they're going to want to keep the money in house and profitable just because it helps their business.
They make money, right?
Yeah, they make money. So you know what I mean? Even if you can't trust anybody, and to be quite honest, like, I mean, I hate to I don't know how much of a fan you are, but Dave Ramsey, his daughter, you know what I mean? Seriously, they're smart. His kids are smart, but his daughter even says she wouldn't want to run this whole thing. She was like, I wouldn't even want to deal with it. She knows her part in the in the aspect of his estate, but she wouldn't want to have the full responsibility. And you got to understand, like, if somebody handed you $50 million, well, we learned to lead this because we built it. But that's different from you just passing it off to somebody. So that's the piece that I think people really need to just be aware of. Like, you don't know what your kids are. You do get a chance to spend some time with them to see if they develop that trust level to where maybe you need to kind of piece off the responsibility to them,
right.
or you only give them access to a certain amount and let the others stay behind. Now, about this dinner,
I'm over here dying, man.
First of all, the dinner was only a few $100s. First of all, let's understand that the dinner was only a few $100s. Now,
okay, I was like, what?
So, like, the only type of dinners you paying $4 or $5 grand, it better be an engagement. It better be, you know what I mean, something like she said, feeding the 5,000, something like that. But the dinner was only a few $100s. But gifts do run you. Like my wife do like nice gifts. She don't like a lot of gifts, but she do like nice gifts for the ones she do get. So you might get hit for, you know what I mean, a comma in that gift. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's the whole point is you're not hurt by spending that money. It didn't go on a credit card, or you might have did it for the points. But for me, I pay my credit cards as soon as the money posts to it. You know what I mean? Because I was just trying to get the cash back or the insurance on it and be done. So that hopefully that cleared it up. No, I didn't spend $4,000 on food. I wouldn't even do that. The only time I did that was the wedding, and that was ridiculous. I wanted to send them people bills for not
Yeah,
showing up.
I got a video. It's an old video. I may put it out one day, but it's a reaction video I did. Or I may redo it, but I found this video. Unbeknownst to me, it's people out there who order in gold plated food. Gold in its purest form is actually edible. Gold is like
the
corn.
sprinkle it.
Or they'll have a thin layer over it, but it's actually edible. And there was a story about a guy who ordered a tomahawk steak wrapped in thin gold foil. And unbeknownst to him, he didn't know the bill was going to come up to like $6,000. So like, yeah, 4 stacks, you better be eating like gold chicken wings or something. And like, I don't know. And don't tell nobody you're eating it, because the goon squad might be waiting for you to come from the restroom, man. So you're eating gold out here.
And that's even a win. Like you said, man, that's part of the whole starting to build your wealth. And wealth is, you know what I mean, the margin between you and your debt or what have you. But the fact that you could just go to any restaurant and be like, hey, I'm not worried about what this bill comes out. I'm not fixated to the first part of the menu, because I've been that guy. No, this is what I want to eat. I don't really care what it costs. Hey, I want this as a side. I don't really care what it costs. And this is what I want.
It's funny because you talked about the gifts and stuff like that, and we're gonna take a pivot here soon. But it's funny because I guess I'm lucky because like my wife don't really like buying a lot of stuff. Like when my wife buys stuff, she buys like stuff for the house, and I'm cool with that because if it's making the place I'm at more comfortable, who am I to argue? But like I actually put in my budget because I love my wife, but I already know every month she gonna spend more than her pre-authorized amount to budget. Now I will tell you,
I will tell you, authorize your wife. Okay. Huh?
We authorize each other, but
this ain't a relationship podcast. Don't get me caught up.
We authorize each other, but we know our roles, and if my roles are to manage the finance, the phrase off, hey, I craft the budget. Your spending money is more as mine because I'm gonna give you a little leverage, but I already know she's gonna go over. So I got a certain amount that's not even written on the budget because I don't want her to see it. Right. so when she randomly calls me like, oh, I bought and she's slick. She'll get the shit and call me after. She might know I got this fund somewhere, but she'll be like, oh, I just want you to know I bought X, Y, and Z that cost $200. And I'm like, I always do the same BS. I'm like, I gotta look at the budget and see where I'm gonna carve it out from. I already got that set in the side in the I like to call the WBF, wife bullshit fund, because I know she gonna go over.
But I actually pivoted after our second year, because my wife is actually she's actually pretty frugal, but it looks different. Like she's not she writes a spreadsheet for the bills, but the way she saves is actually way different from me. Like me, I'm a spreadsheet. I know exactly how much I'm finna save out of each check, that type of thing. And so when I figured out that, oh, she's actually saving a lot of money, it takes her a couple months to build it up, and then she moves it over. I'm like, what difference do it make? She's still saving a lot of money. But the thing that I learned was I didn't have to only thing we put was a guardrail of, hey, if you're going to spend $500 or more, man, send me give me the dignity of a courtesy text. But as far as my, like, for real, like, and she was like, what's that for? I was like, well, would you be mad if I showed up with a car in the driveway? She's like, oh yeah. I was like, right. If you in there, you can have the money and it's well within your right, but just send me as a sign of respect, a courtesy text, for saying that you spent this amount of money. And as you get older and your wealth grows, you kind of move away from having those strict rules. But in the beginning, we were hard pressed on that rule because we had to assimilate and merge in together, and it takes a while to get that. The other thing is, my wife, as far as my budget, she has flowers every 22nd of the month. That's the one thing that budget, unemployed, not employed, whatever, she's getting fresh flowers every 22nd.
All right, I'm gonna edit that shit out, man. You setting the bar too hard for normal guys like myself.
Normal guy? You a whole lawyer? Where are you?
Like, it's funny because everybody laugh at me, but I was like Valentine's Day. I've never gotten my wife anything for Valentine's Day ever.
Bare minimal, you gotta have red roses and probably multiple bouquets of flowers. But Actually,
Roses,
big roses and chocolate. No.
man.
What is it? Chocolate covered strawberries.
No,
That's
I don't do Valentine's Day. I don't do any of that. But when I first met her and we decided, like, I ain't even gonna tell y'all the story of how the dating started because it was just I got a little caveman tendencies.
That's my particular wife. So
right.
do that. You know what I mean?
No,
I have to do that because
I
that's
said
love.
early on though. In my 20s, I was like, I don't need a day of the year to dictate when I get you flowers or when I do stuff. I do it when I want to do it. So we kind of never been.
But if you're not doing it,
I mean, yeah, I get her stuff. I take her out to nice restaurants and all of that
but
stuff.
you want flowers. Like if you ain't getting the flowers, you need a reminder. That's why they got Valentine's Day.
I know the flowers in my house. It would be one that, like, I got a homegirl. When like she gets flowers from her husband, afterwards she take the petals off and make potpourri and put them in a nice dish. My wife ain't doing no shit like that. I get those flowers. She'll put them on the table and never look at those fuckers again. So I said, you know what? It's in the best interest of my wallet that I don't even go down this flowers. Like my wife likes travel and food. That's it. Travel, food, and
whatever she likes. But like I said, my wife, that's what she like. It changes, but that ain't changed. So I'm like, hey, it communicates love because I'm like, I'd rather give her what she likes, and it means I love you to her than buy something that she be like, I mean, I'll take it, but
and I'm a hypocrite because I'm telling you right now, if my daughter dates some guy who say that same shit I said, I don't believe in Valentine's Day, I'm gonna be like, leave that motherfucker. I'm a hypocrite, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to it. And I want to take a pivot, man, and talk. Oh man, it's funny. I see these comments is going.
Y'all can just imagine how we were at FinCon. New Orleans gonna be something nuts.
So I want to take a pivot, man, and talk a little bit about the FIRE movement, man.
Yeah.
I thought this was a good conversation to have because, your short form content. I really like, you did one video where you talked about how, a lot of people don't have as much cash as you probably think they have because it's difficult for people to get their hands on $10,000, $5,000. And but this topic was kind of a piggyback off a conversation we had in FinCon, and it's dope because we got a lot of content creators who are watching in the chat right now.
Yeah.
And one of the, financial independence, retire early, work optional, all of that stuff. We get the distinction. So I want to go over a section of overrated or underrated. Is the FIRE movement concept as a whole? I know it's 50,000 million different forms of FIRE. Would you say overrated or underrated, and why?
I mean, I still think it's still underrated. Because even though there is a lot of different, to me, based off what I've seen, even though there are a lot of different, there's fat FIRE, there's mid FIRE, all these different versions of FIRE. The one thing that has remained true is people really want the financial independence and the high focus on getting to the point where your assets generate enough to cover the life that you want to live. And then it's at that point that you say, hey, like you just mentioned, do I pivot? Am I really enjoying my career? And go do something else? I have that option now. Or I really love what I'm doing. I just really want to make sure I was financially secure. And once I'm financially secure, and it goes with the same mindset of, hey, I can go to a car lot, I can go, go to the store. I can buy this stuff. I just don't. I can leave my job. I just don't have to. Because if I left my job, what am I leaving to? It's not you're living on ketchup packets and you're taking other people's food in the restaurant as your leftovers just so that you can put money away and get to financial independence. Because there is, I know a lot of people don't want to agree with this, but everybody grew up in a certain fashion. And with money, because of the time it takes for you to get to that level of wealth that you want, you have to engage in some sort of behavior of spending money that aligns with your ability to reach your goals. So, like you said, you go to FinCon, but if I only went on business trips, that's cool, but that's always gonna be work. But we like to travel, so we go visit. There are times where we might like a nice watch, or I might like a nice watch. I might want a nice suit, something of that nature. I'll get that thing and I'll even spend it, and it will be expensive by anybody's, judgment. But I'm not doing that every month. Every time I get paid, I got the nice thing that I wanted. I'm happy with it. I don't need 15 of them. I just wanted this nice one. And I'm good.
Right.
And people don't understand that it's not that we don't want you to spend your money, it's I really need you to save your money. Because once you're saving at like to me, like I told, not to go back into the wife thing, but we started to focus on our strengths in the marriage. Not, you ain't doing this, you ain't doing that. We started looking at, okay, how can we do things in a marriage, in a household that, hey, I'm good at clean up, I'll clean up. I'm not doing that as roles. I'm doing it, I'm better at it than you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There are things she's better at with the rental property than I am. You know what I mean? I'm good at high level stuff. She's good at operation and following rules and making sure we don't get sued for something wrong. But the thing about money is that, at least for me, what I've learned is if you focus on your savings rate and you're saving like you should be, whether it's, and I don't care what percent, I'm talking about dollar amount, because anybody who's saving investing $2,000 a month, you are investing very, very well. To me, you know what I mean? That's equivalent to a maxed out 401k every year. If you can invest 2,000 a month, you're doing great. So if you're investing 2,000 a month, but then you go spend, I don't know, 3 or 4,000 on a bag, I don't care, or a vacation, I don't care, because your savings rate is perpetual.
Right.
The problem that anybody that, if you look at people money, if you coach people, and the problem I've always told people that I've coached and sat with is, I don't have a problem with how you spend your money because you're different from me. You value those things. I don't. And yeah, so I'm always going to tell you, yeah, you can live without it, because I know you can live without it, because you have lived without it. And you can't lie to me and tell me you haven't lived without it. But I'm more concerned about the fact that you're not saving. If we came in this situation and you're like, oh man, I'm saving 2,000 a month. Yeah, I got 2,000 in credit card. Yeah, I want you to get rid of credit card debt, but I'm not as pressed and like, oh man, you're in financial ruin, because you're not. You're actually building money in a way that's gonna outpace stupid spending, which is what we're trying to do. But that's all we're trying to get people to do. I'm just trying to get you to invest your money. If I can get you to invest your money, I care less with what you buy. And funny thing is, you can actually buy more stuff. So, you know what I mean? And it not hurt you. So that's the thing that I think people kind of miss with the FIRE movement. But when you get to the point of, you will get irritated. The older you get, the less you get tolerant, no matter if you got money or not. You try to talk to a guy who's 60 or 70, like, hey, we're going to go down here. You can go down there. I'm finna sit in my chair. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what y'all got going. So the truth is, you do anything for 20 years, you're going to get tired. But even if you like it, but the idea that, oh man, I can go on my job. Man, this job, oh, such and such just sent me an email. The email only irritated you because you know you have to be there. If you didn't have to be there, the email, you be like, oh,
you wouldn't care.
Yeah, you're like, it really ain't that big of a deal. In fact, you would take it a step further and be like, why is everybody so hostile? Because they got to be here. And if they're not here, and they got mortgages and private school and boats and, you know what I mean, all these different brunches lined up, you know what I mean, tagging that they income, so they gotta be at work. They can't afford to lose it. So yeah, you forgot to send the email. Yeah, that pissed them off. But you forgot, you be like, oh, well, I can leave. You know what I mean? Oh, really? Yeah, I can leave. Oh, well, that's a different conversation. And that's the thing about the financial independence piece that I do think is underrated, because number one, it doesn't always mean you have to have $3, $4, $5 million. It could be, there's plenty of people who financially independent at 500K. You know what I mean? It's all on you, and you have to grow emotionally to understand that, hey, what makes me happy isn't what's going to make them happy. And truth be told, Marcus, I love you like a brother, but even though we may think the same way, we married two different people. Our level of wealth is going to be different.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not single. The level of wealth I would have as single is probably going to be more than me being married, but I know who I'm married to. And I'm okay with, hey, I'm only going to reach a certain amount of level of wealth because we aren't taking every single dollar and investing it. We're taking a good portion.
Yeah. You gotta
we
still
got a
live
great
life.
chunk going
Yeah,
in.
you still gotta live life.
Yeah, we live in life because
Right.
I kind of enjoy being married, and my daughter's used to eating. You know, she's used to eating, man. Just be honest.
I guess it's funny. I think Shalise, Mommy Trader, her comment she made was the financial independence part is the biggest piece of it. You know what I mean? And then Aaron also made a good point because I know I actually had all these numbers, and then as my income grew or my debt went down, I just kept pushing the goalposts out farther and farther and farther. Right. So for me, I just tend to focus on that financial independence portion of it.
Yeah.
And financial independence for me, this sounds crazy. I honestly don't think about or care about my investments at all. Like I told you, I haven't done a net worth calculation since last December. I probably do one at the end of the year, just for purposes of doing it, because I know it's down, but I don't care. I got another 25, 30 years that I'm probably, honestly, my plan at retirement is that I don't even have to touch that because I got other things popping off. But I'll tell you what financial independence was for me. It was when I had a specific number in my savings account.
Yeah.
I had a specific number, and it was way more than everybody on the channel know our emergency fund is 20 bands. That's what we got.
Right.
It was
that's fair. Yeah. And you're a family of what? 4, right? 4. Yeah.
4. But I tell you, I had a set amount of cash in my bank account that was way more than $20,000, and I was pissed because I knew some of it I had to take and pay a tax obligation because I sold some assets, long-term capital gain. But when that money was there, even though I didn't use it, at that moment I said, that's my peace of mind right there. I know exactly what the number is, and it's not 3 months. I know exactly what the number is because when that number was there, even though I knew I had to use that money had an allocated purpose already. Just knowing that money was there until I had to actually make that transfer, I was like, man, if something happened, is there. If something happened, is there. No matter what, you can make it happen. So that's kind of what it is for me. I don't really care about the investments. I kind of dumbed and I kind of simpletoned my way into reaching what I would call my minimum fire goal. By the time I turn 60, I would like to have $1.5 million in assets. And I bumbled my way on that. Like you were saying, you know what I was doing? I just kept investing the same percentage from like the age of 28 until now. And I wasn't doing it. The rest of my finances were a fucking shamble. Everything else for a long time was crazy and wild, and I had credit card debt. But in the back of my mind, I always knew if I just at least put this percentage away, I'll hit that dollar amount. And then maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I got to a point where if I didn't invest another dime, I would hit that minimum by the time I hit 60.
That's the funny part. Like when you reach the point that, hey, I don't really have to invest, but you still got to wait that time out.
It's the time. Exactly.
You got to wait that time out. So I'm going to always be invested. I'm always going to advocate for that. The other thing to add on to your point is, first of all, I just 3 days ago, I went and looked at my Social Security. I'm like, Lord, I'm going to be getting like 4,600 Social Security projected. I'm like, well, that's a lot. You know what I mean? Just at Social Security. When you think about how that factors into your overall equation, it's remarkable. But the thing that I think people miss with financial independence and growing wealth is, number one, you don't know what the returns are going to be.
Right.
Number two, you can read all the books. There are a couple different things and I've read every good well-known book and even books that aren't well-known about money. And I've listened to all the podcasts. I've listened to everybody speak. But there's no person who would tell you that they knew that they was going to hit that amount of wealth. Why? Because events like what we're in now in the economy will happen. Nobody knows what type of impact that's going to have. But what they did know is all of a sudden things just took off.
Right.
And even whatever they estimated, they ended up having more. That's one thing that people did say. Whatever they estimated, they ended up having more. You know what I mean? If they would have known that it was going to work like that, they like, I would have put in more. That's just the greed aspect. So a lot of people, those numbers are just to give you an idea, but the true fact remains is if you put your money just in a simple index fund, I mean, you can options trade, you can day trade, you do whatever you want to do, but just for the sake of conversation, just a simple index fund, you buy a couple pieces of real estate, you will amass more wealth than you think you will just by not doing a calculation, because we're in a bear market now. But what traditionally happens after the bear market, you have about a long stretch of 15 and 20% returns typically. You know what I mean?
Right.
Is that factored in your equation? Are you factoring in another potential bear market and not knowing how big of a devastation it's going to be? And from that devastation, not knowing how much property or how much your values are going to go up, how much rents are going to go up? You can't calculate those things. And all you're saying, the calculation is giving you really more of a straight line. Hey, if nothing else changes, this is where you're going to be at. But you live in the real world, things will change if you invest. Take the calculator, but I'm willing to bet your wealth, my wealth on it. Whatever your calculator says, you're going to have more just by investing right now and continuing.
Right. Sorry, I'm throwing something up on the screen because we were having a little conversation. We'll go to that a little bit later. But since we talked about it, it's gonna be cool just to play this video so everybody can see. But yeah, I think that's the big deal. Like for me, my financial independence revolves around lack of risk. And there's a conversation we had before we went live. We both invest in real estate, and I used to judge real estate by the amount of doors. I want to have X amount of doors. And I was just telling, I was like, yo, I changed my mindset. I don't really care about the amount of doors. Now I'm focused on the amount of properties that I don't owe a mortgage on. I own a rental property. I own some acreage of land and I don't owe anybody. That for me, again, everybody's different. But because my risk tolerance is a lot lower, I know for a fact it's two things. When it relates to rental properties, at a minimum, I'm only going to have one mortgage on a rental property. I don't want 2 or 3 properties with mortgages on them. That's point number one. And point number two, mathematically, is probably not the best way to build wealth, but a couple years ago, I never thought
it's not the wrong way either.
Right. But a couple years ago, I remember doing a video saying this is why I'll never pay off my primary residence, because I pay 2% interest. It's pretty much nothing. I could clearly invest and do better. But I said, you know what? It may only last for one day, but I'm gonna pay my shit off just because I want to wake up one day and everything that's in my name or I'm associated with is paid off. Now that next day I may go out and buy a rental property and take out a mortgage, but I want to know the feeling of waking up and not owing anybody absolutely nothing. I don't care. I don't care if it stays that way, because it may not. I may go out and leverage some debt on an asset to make money, but I made up my mind. I'm gonna pay this shit off because I want to wake up one day and just have that feeling. That sounds crazy as hell, but that's a goal of mine.
No. I mean, it's perfectly within your right. The two things I would add to that is, number one, you absolutely have to invest. Little things can become big things. It doesn't take much to invest. So what do I mean by that? $500 invested, 10% return, 40 years, $5.2 million. $500 a month. Don't really take much, you know what I mean, to invest. The other thing is that it kind of works in the environment. A lot of people I know, if you're a lawyer, I got an MBA, student loans was not something that that forgiveness, it's help, but it's not going to change your life. And a lot of people can't get to financial independence. You can't get to comprehend financial independence because you're already looking at 6 figures plus worth of student loan debt. And I will tell you, I was there 4 or 5 years ago when I realized, man, paying off 6 figures of student loan debt, that's going to be hard. Like, I need some help. I blessed, again, my wife, no student loans. She went to college debt free, got her MBA debt free, all that type of stuff. 5-year, shout out to FAMU. But the thing that I think people miss is, like you said, get you a rental property, start investing your money. You will look up, get on an income-based payment program or what have you, manage that thing. But doing just that, especially the rental property piece, doing that and riding that out for 3 years, what happens when you have the ability, you have the equity in the home, like, oh, if I had to sell this rental property, oh, I could pay off my student loan. So now it's not really standing in your way of your debt. It's just, when will you pay them off? It's not how can you, it turns to when will you. Just like you know what I mean? You'll reach a point where you can pay off your house. That's part of the wealth. To me, that's part of the wealth process, because when you started from the beginning, you have to work through these things with decision. Now, my daughter, she'll have more of a thing of, I want a house, I need to get something feasible to my income, but I don't really have to worry about the financing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So those are two different scenarios. But when you're building, everything is about, okay, is this the best decision for you based off what you're trying to do from a wealth standpoint right now? Once you have the money, like if your rental properties went up over these past couple of years and you had paused student loan payments, yeah, you could sell the property and pay off your student loan. You keep going, you know what I mean? And then maybe kick it down the road. But now you're going down the road with, okay, whenever I choose to pay it off, not how am I ever going to get ahead of this thing.
Right. You know, one of the things that it interests me, and I love watching these videos, but I tell you, as I watch these videos on YouTube, I clench my teeth. I love to see the low income budgeters who are becoming financially
they amazing,
because that's a much more amazing and more difficult than my story will ever be. Yeah. You know, because you know that $40,000 for one family of 4 that I had when I first came out of law school is not where I'm at now. But for a lot of people, that's what it is. And it's so dope to see them make that work and to see them achieve financial freedom on these low incomes. But the one thing that just hurts me and it makes me clench my teeth, and I'm low key, sometimes I want to make a comment, but it's very few of them. A lot of them, most of them, I see who do it, they are investing. So shout out to everybody who's doing that and investing, all the people who talk about investing. But it's some who I watch who they got the budget part down, they bringing the debt down, they're working everything, but there's some fear there in investing. And what you talked about a few minutes ago was when you have this downturn in the market and everybody like, oh, it's doing bad. The people who are putting away anything, even if it's $100 a month,
gonna mean something.
24 to 36 months from now, your net worth is going to be, like you said, bigger than what you can imagine, because the rally is going to be real. You know what I mean? So I think that was a good point, to do something consistently, even if it's a small amount, even if it's $5 a day. You can become a millionaire $5 a day, depending on when you start and how consistent you are. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And one of the stories I saw that was interesting, and I thought there was a very interesting fact. When Apple's iPod first came out, I remember everybody having them big ass iPods, look like the Zach Morris phone, but they was $3.99. At that time, Apple stock was like $9.58. So many people ran out and purchased the iPod for $400, but there was some smart ass people out there who bought $400 worth of Apple stock. That $400 in today's money is over $60,000. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that I always try to stress. I know a lot of people who in the chats, like, the budgeting part is real. When you have a low income, I know it's hard. I know it's hard, but if you can give up $3 a day from that coffee, or cut back, I mean, you don't need Disney Plus, Netflix, and Hulu. Figure out which one you watch the most. But if you can find any way to carve out a small amount of money Right now is the time, because again, anytime to invest is a good time, but you're going to lose out so much if you start investing at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, when the rally already take place. By that time, mark everybody words, Shalise, me, anybody who shows a portfolio or their assets or their net worth, just go back and watch the people who are investing anything right now. Those are the people in 24 to 36 months, this shit gonna be through the roof, bro.
Yeah, they're gonna be standing tall, my friend.
Yeah, man. It's definitely dope. But yo, I think we just about wrapped it up, man.
Yeah,
I think
man. We beat it up.
Like I said, man, I appreciate you blessing the channel. You know, like I said, anytime you want me to do something for you, bro, let me know. Like I said, we're family. I love it. There's enough food out here for everybody to eat, and I like to see my folks winning. Hey, shout out to everybody in the channel. Before we get out, man, give church announcements so everybody know where they can find you at on all your social platform. And also, y'all, I'm gonna put it in the description box as well as the first pinned comment on this video.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you dropping, allowing me to come in. It's been fun. It's always good to talk with you. You can find me here on YouTube, Money Talks with Jonathan Thomas, uploading at least once a day. Usually there are some days where I can get multiple out. TikTok, J Thomas Solutions. Instagram, J Thomas Solution. Facebook, we got the Facebook group. There's a free version. There's about 1,600 members in there. Money Talks with Jonathan Thomas, as well as there's a paid VIP. It's $15.99, but you get that coaching, you get that access, you get anything I can give you to help you be successful to build wealth, along with peers and things of that nature. So I definitely appreciate the opportunity to help you build your wealth. If you made it this far, make sure you subscribe and like for Marcus on this channel. We want to see him do some great things.
Hey, I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate y'all in the chat. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Y'all have a good weekend. Yeah, I know we're gonna be back with some heat for y'all. Y'all be blessed. Peace.